dance company came out from San Marino High School to perform for us. It was a great event for our school. The dance-a-thon was a school-wide event, but what's happening inside the Carver classrooms? There is so much happening, and we are all preparing for our big open house night. We are doing this by having a bunch of projects and activities. A few of the projects my class has been working on is the math quilts, fraction dodecahedrons, and presidential bus, which will be using technology to make to come to life with animation. I encourage you all to come to Carver on Thursday, April 6th. You won't want to miss it. Spring Student Council will get to do a lot. There are many things that almost everyone is looking forward to, such as the annual Carver Carnival and planning the food for the lunch menu for the students of Carver. Carver is a great school, and it has been for many years. I know this because I've seen it firsthand. I started at Carver in TK, and now I'm a big fifth grader. This is my last year at Carver, and I hope to leave a great legacy as the current Student Council president. Today, as I welcome you to the award-winning San Marino Unified District Board meeting, I would like to pay our respects to our country and flag. Please join us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand quietly and respectfully. Face the flag. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Joshua. Fantastic presentation. Joshua, if you could come up for one more minute, please. Our superintendent would like to share something with you.
Joshua, we have a certificate of appreciation that we would like to give to you. So if you wouldn't mind coming over here in the center, we're going to take a photograph. And I would also like to invite your parents to come up and be in the photograph as well. With the this is Ryan. Did a great job.
For funding. 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you so much for all that information and your parents.
Thank you, Joshua. Next on 4B, I'd like an approval for the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda. Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chong.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan. Aye. Student Board Member, Ms. Trin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion has passed for approval of the agenda. Next, we have approval of minutes for March 7th, Special Board of Education meeting minutes.
Move to approve the minutes for this special meeting on March 7th. Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chung. Who seconded? Ms. Gill. Okay, yeah. So I want to make sure that the motions were made by those who were in attendance fully.
Okay, I can.
Were you in attendance for the whole meeting?
For the full duration of the meeting, for the special meeting. No, I wasn't.
Yeah, so that's why I'm
Okay.
calling for another motion. So Mrs. Chong and Miss,
Draw my second.
thank you. Mrs. Chong,
Yes, I was in a full attendance.
thank you.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And I will do roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
We-
Question, we weren't
Yeah.
in full.
Yeah, so you
attendance,
have to
Abstain.
abstain.
Even though I ended up attending the Zoom though. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you posted the meeting and, okay.
You didn't post them in, yeah, so, okay.
I'll stay.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lam. Ms. Gill, thank you, Ms. Chang,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, and student board member.
Yes.
Thank you.
She abstained as well.
She abstained as well. Okay. Thank you for your patience as I go through this. All right, approval of minutes for March 14th, 23 Board of Education meeting minutes.
I move to approve the minutes for March 14th.
Thank you, Mrs. John.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. All right, roll call vote. Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. John,
Aye.
Ms. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member.
Yes.
Thank you. San Marino Unified School District Spotlight. The Board of Education will recognize the San Marino High School dance team for placing first overall at the Sharp International Dance Competition. Here to give us more information is Principal Kurtenbach.
Thank you, President Ryan, Dr. De La Torre, members of the board, executive team, and student board member. You do not want to hear from me as much as you'd love to hear from these ladies, so we'll be passing it over very quickly. You're about to hear from not the heart, but the soul of San Marino High School. This group is at every single event we've asked them to be at. They go to the showcase, they go to the move up day, they perform everywhere. And what's great is when they're not performing, they're still performing. If you look over in the corner, they're always dancing to everything. They're always participating. They have the most energy, the most positive attitude. They are one of the most fun groups we have on campus, and it's a group that we're really proud to call our own. I'm going to have Miss Tracy Shen come up and introduce the team before they speak a bit about their experiences. Ms. Shen.
Good evening. Although Joshua is a pretty hard act to follow, we're going to do our very best. My name is Tracy Shen. I am the dance director at San Marino High School. And on behalf of Dance Company, I'd like to say it's an honor to be recognized for the second year in a row. Yeah, it's awesome. So I'd like to take the time now to introduce our dance company captains, Xing Rang and Esther Lian, to come on up.
Good evening, Dr. De La Torre, members of the school board, Mr. Kurtenbach, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Xing Rang and this is Esther Lian, and we are the SMHS Dance Company captains for 2022 to 2023.
Thank you for recognizing our success at the Sharp International Dance Competition at Sierra Vista High School 2 weekends ago. This was only Dance Company's second year in the competition, and it was an honor for this team to represent San Marino High School in the dance arena.
As a team, we won first place in both the high school mid-sized dance and lyrical categories. We're named first place overall winners for lyrical and also won the trophy for best showmanship competition-wide. Our talented junior, Melody Chen, is the first to represent SMHS in a solo dance contest. We are very proud to report that she won second place in the high school lyrical solo competition.
To dance is to face your flaws in the mirror every single day and to take criticism with grit and positivity. It demands complete focus 100% of the time, even when each routine is repeated till every minute misstep is corrected. One learns to pick oneself up after a fall and to continue as if it did not happen.
Several of us on this team have been dancing for more than 10 years. We continue to do it because dance is an expression of emotion, a hidden language of the soul. To dance is to be thrown into an intensity of artistry, a submission to its magic.
Dance company is a team sport with equal emphasis on both words. It takes perseverance to develop dance muscles and fluidity, but the camaraderie of a team that spends upwards of 10 hours a week together to pursue a singular passion is priceless.
But without Ms. Tracy Shen, our amazing dance director, the dance program that we all love today would not have the reach that it has on the district, and the success we celebrate this evening would not have happened. We are so grateful for you, Ms. Shen.
We would like to thank the district for giving us the opportunity to dance in high school. It is important that in a public school district like ours, where the pressure to achieve rides so high, that the arts be valued because they provide a reprieve and an escape for many of us. Only with belief and support from the administrative leadership would we have the creative space to grow and excel.
This April, for 3 nights from the 20th to the 22nd, almost 200 dancers from all 4 schools in the district will be on stage at Dancetra 2023, including 5 members of the SMHS faculty who will perform with dance company and dancing with the teachers.
While it is a huge task to teach choreography and achieve synchronization with so many, there is immense power in working collectively toward a common goal. We would like to invite Dr. De La Torre, members of the school board, and everyone at this meeting to come and celebrate dance in our school district. See you all at Dancetra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for that lovely presentation. And you honor us tonight with your presence and with your dedication to dance. Tracy, you have been an incredible gift to the high school and just a wonderful addition to our professional team. You have taken our dance team to the next level, and for that, we are especially grateful. You know, all of you are doing the heavy lifting, right? I mean, you're out there dancing and practicing. And so we have a certificate of recognition that we would like to present to all of you, and kind enough to come up here. An acceptance certificate. Okay. And some Board of Education, if I can have you in the photo as well. Can we get Dr. Lynn in there too? Yes.
I don't dance.
Let's put the tall people in the back. The statuettes, people in the back. And the word we challenge. You can't let your finger on stage. Whenever you
Everybody look here. Couple cameras here. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2. Sir, congratulations. What a great achievement.
Yes.
Incredible.
By the way, can we know who are senior?
Oh, yeah. Can you guys hang on a minute?
Oh, yes, seniors.
Senior.
Our 4 seniors, 5 seniors, 4 seniors. Who's our seniors? Lydia and Xing and Esther and Shayna. Our
3,
four-
right?
4.
Oh,
4.
four.
Okay, these 4 right here.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, well, congratulations to you and all that you have accomplished while with us at San Marino High School. You're all amazingly talented, and we are so sad to be losing you at the high school, but so excited about your future.
But you guys will be coming back, right?
Yeah, to visit. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, you guys are amazing. Congratulations to you, and best of luck on your future endeavors. They're so cute. They are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cutest spotlight.
Super cute. Yes, very.
Cutest spotlight.
All right. Also
they don't make
difficult to
us do
follow that act.
Yeah, right?
I mean, they
All
would
right,
dance that.
you guys,
Oh.
why aren't you guys giving the heart to us? Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
To support each other in the same way that dance teams support each other.
Okay.
All right. With that, public comment, the Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. Submit through an online form. This afternoon, we received 1. Request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. And request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. All right, Dr. Choi.
Okay, thank you, President Ryan. We're pausing for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding matters that are not on the agenda or items in the consent or information sections. Go ahead and press the raise hand icon if you'd like to make a request. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon. Okay, President Ryan, we have no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Next, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. As there are, okay, Gil, would you like to submit a card? No, all right. So we are without an audience this evening, so there will not be a submission of the public comment card. This is an opportunity to hear matters that are and are not on the agenda. All right. All right, at this time, 9 public hearing, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Jason Rose, who will conduct the public hearing.
Thank you, President Ryan. Tonight, the Board of Education will pause to conduct a public hearing and take public comment on the 23-24 District Sunshine Proposal for contract negotiations between the San Marino Unified School District and the San Marino Teachers Association. So Dr. Choi, please pause the meeting for 1 minute to take public comment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rose. We are pausing for 1 minute. Thirty seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon.
May I ask how many Zoom attendants we have?
We have 2 attendees currently.
Welcome.
Okay, Dr. Rose, we have no requests to speak.
That is it. Thank you, President Ryan.
Okay. Under the consent section, that's 10. May I have a motion, please? Or is there a discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah. For the consent section B, classify personnel document. I know that we have a revised information. But I would like to know is that we are paying for HMS Science of Olympia for another staff, or
No, it's the same person, but that she's already getting stipend.
okay. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, may I have a motion, please?
I'd like to move to approve for 10 consent section from A to I to L, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. With no further discussion, Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lam,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next, 11A communication section, communication from the Board of Education. I'd like to begin with Mrs. Lam.
Thank you. I'd like to share that on March 16th, I attended the Carver Science Fair. It was a wonderful experience. I was able to see all the different projects that K through 5th grade had created by themselves or with parents or with their friends. So that was a lot of fun. On March 22nd, I did a library reading to a kindergarten class at Carver Elementary. So that was also a lot of fun. I read something about a bear and a toad. I get them all mixed up these days because I read bears and toads and other animals every day. So that was fun. And also on the same day, the 22nd, I attended the Founders Day at Huntington Middle School Auditorium. And that was so wonderful because I learned about a lot of the different, very much involved parents, one of which received the award here. And so it was so great to be in the presence of all these rock star parents, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lam. Mrs. Gill.
I'd like to just start out by saying that my heart goes out to, and it's just broken for the families in Nashville. And that our parents should know that our student safety is at the top of my priority and the rest of the board. So with that said, I know that Dr. De La Torre is going to touch on some of that later. Yes, I went to Founders Day and actually received an honorary service award, which I was yay. I was just very honored to receive that. I mean, the people who have received these are just amazing, and I'm lucky to be in their company. I went to the Fox Games, which was super fun. They pivoted and did it in the rain and moved it indoors, and it was just incredible. The students had so much fun. I went to the high school golf tournament, which was a baseball theme, which is so funny because it's sports on sports, but seemed like everyone had a great time and it was very successful. And Mrs. Chan was there too. Let's see, this morning I went to the HMS PTA meeting, and I just wanted to let everyone know that the Titan Day, which is when the little leaguers come to the high school and watch the varsity baseball and softball games, that was rescheduled to April 17th due to rain. So it's just a great way of linking our elementary and junior high kids up to the high school sports programs. And it's the first Monday back from spring break. So please don't forget and come. It's versus La Cañada. So a great rivalry game. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Mrs. John.
Thank you. I went to a lot of the same activities everyone here, so I won't talk about that so much as I wanted to touch on school safety as well. A lot of my conversations with the community have been revolving around that. I think I looked it up, and yesterday's attack was the 19th shooting at an American school or university in 2023. Not even, yeah, that's 19 in March. That's ridiculous. It's just crazy. There's been 42 K-12 shootings since Uvalde last May. I think we're obviously seeing a huge rise in school violence. And I wanted to state and share Francesca's commitment of this board that school safety is absolutely of the utmost priority. And I've been reflecting on how we are going to approach that as a district and whether or not that is something that we feel confident in addressing. And I thought a lot about that, and I thought about how we're going to do it. And I think what it landed on for me ultimately was that I feel very confident in our staff. I feel very confident in our district staff, in our school sites, in our teachers, our students, our volunteers. And the reason I feel that way is because when I look at the way this district handled COVID, 2-3 years of intense planning, implementing, and pivoting over and over and over again. And no matter what happened, the staff always was willing to put the work in to coming up with comprehensive, inclusive, and innovative solutions that really utilized every single resource available to us, whether it was within the community or externally. And so when I think about the work that we did, and it was recognized by others because it was a model of how you approach a crisis. And I hate to think of the school violence being a crisis. It's not a crisis the way the pandemic was, but I think it is starting to reach a point where maybe we do need to start thinking about it on some scale so that we can really start wrapping our brains around applying that same type of multi-layered approach. The thought in my mind that I keep coming back to that Dr. Choi used through COVID was the Swiss cheese approach, that you had multi-layered approach to dealing with it across the departments, across the personnel, across the resources, and each one by themselves was not going to be a 100% foolproof plan for anything, vaccines, masks, social distancing, none of it. But when you layer all those pieces together, you have the impact of being able to have a really good protective barrier against those threats that come at you. And so I wanted us to really start thinking about how we are as a district going to apply that multi-layered approach to the issue of school violence, whether that's mental health or it's locked or presence of staffing or training or cameras or anything using technology. I think that is really what's going to allow us to be able to get on the other side of this, because it's not a problem, unfortunately, that's going to go away quickly. So I wanted to give confidence to our community that we can do the work, we will do the work, it will be a priority. And I wanted to thank in advance our staff and our board for being committed to that, as I know they are, and as I know we are, because I know that's going to be a big lift, and it's a heavy-hearted lift because we don't really want to do it. But I don't really think we can turn our head away from it anymore. So that's it. Thank you.
By the way, I value during the open section, each of a board member and also school district staff, we are focused on the safety issue. I remember I've been served for representative for safety committee for almost about 21 years until the last year. I think we need to let the new board member to take over the responsibility. So I think I want to continue to be the safety committee. But the safety issue always important. But if something not happen for a long time and the people forget until if something happen, and especially parents will put in a priority and keep sending the concern comment. But to me, every day is important. It's not just the couple of days. So I think we need to have a sensitivity, and this is always important. To me, I feel even more important than the curriculum, because the parent send the kid to the school. If something happens, how we can respond for this issue. So I always think it's very important. So I hope I know our safety committee member, they have a wide representative from each level, from school, district staff, and foresight school principal and the PTA leader, even the Chinese club representative and the local community people, police and the fire chief. So actually, we've been spend the time for last 30 years. We know what's going on for this community. So, but this time is a little bit different because we are forming the facility assessment committee. So I think we need to probably take a priority to think about if we have a future, we have a grant, the fund to spend, how we can address to the security issue. Next, I want to report my bi-weekly activity. March 15, I attend the Huntington Medical Research Institute board meeting. So we just formed the education committee. So education committee chair, they present to the board. So we are talking about how we can provide some education, internship or training to the local community, including the high school student and the college student and the post-doctor fellowship. So I hope they can give the chance to the San Bernardino High School student. Next, March 21st, I attend the San Bernardino City Club meeting. So there's a speaker, Dr. Ed Huang, talking about environmental issue. I think that also impact to the living at the worst is very important, especially the March is like Upper Day, yeah, and the Earth Day. And then the congratulations to all the recipients at the San Bernardino Founder Day ceremony. And then March 23rd, I got a special privilege, so I can visit the Charles Drew University of Medicine Simulation Center. So I went there, spent a half day, and they show me those device, and especially the couple the device we are going to buy. So I hope that I can make a connection. You know, the later they may some of the staff from the simulation center, maybe sometime they can help our medical art the new program. And then lastly, March 24, I attend the 2023 Spring Concert by San Bernardino High School Titan Music. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. On March 15th, I was on my way here to San Marino Schools Foundation meeting. And I want to first thank Dr. Linda Delatorre and her staff for having the foresight to introduce the resolution authorizing the emergency repairs and restoration required, because on that day, on March 15th, at about 1:12, our oak tree came down. And so while no one was hurt and, you know, cars were damaged, but Daryl, thank you, Daryl, for what you do, because he immediately sprung to action. He was able to divert traffic from after school pickup, and he also took care of the traffic for tomorrow. But the man who really was instrumental in seeing us through from 1:12 on, and I was here late into the night and I saw him still here. And he, Gil, took care to have the tree removed and also to make sure things were safe. And you took care from beginning to end, the entire process, ensuring safety for all the families and children that would be coming in. Obviously, looking at the emergency costs is something that the board's going to be looking at, as well as the lighting and the fence. But I want to thank you personally for what you did for us that day. And thank you to our cabinet and Dr. Linda Delatorre for implementing that resolution that really helped us on that day. Thank you, Dr. Lynn, for all the tours that you provided for us. I know Dr. Linda Delatorre was on the one I was at with Mrs. Gill, Mrs. Lamb. You didn't come? Oh, you came the following week, 2 weeks later. Okay, but everyone came and we were able to see or have the tour of the facility and really get a on the ground look at what our schools need in terms of facility needs. Special board meeting, we discussed budget, but special ed expenditures, as well as block scheduling, as well as our bilingual education. Thank you, Dr. Richter, for what you did in terms of looking at implementing something that we have been looking at for a while for the Mandarin dual language immersion, starting at Carver with 2 classes, but hopefully going into the other site as well and the following year. Mrs. Lamb and I did attend the Carver Science Fair. I'm sorry your daughter was disappointed. She was very disappointed. I wanted to almost give her the award myself, but she kind of held it together for a little bit, but she did want to go home right away. Yeah, or did you take her out for a treat? No? Oh, no treats. Okay.
The treat itself.
Okay. Dr. Delatorre, obviously I was not in charge of the treats for that child, but
Shelley's like, take all the candy.
on the 17th of March, I also had a conference with our auditor, and I understand that we're going to be going through another phase of that in terms of our audit. And the facilities tours were on March 5th and March 18th. And then our compliance, I did some compliance training on the 21st. And then congratulations to the Golden Apple Award recipient, Dr. Stephen Choi, Catherine Ontiveros. And then congratulations, Mrs. Gill, on your award as well. All right, and then we, it's interesting that Mrs. Chong and I are on the facilities because on that day on March 21st, we sat at San Marino High School without power. And we were in the dark and they were serving dinner at the City Club with Dr. Edward Huang, who's our environmentalist. Mr. Chang was there as well. We sat in the dark for about half an hour, but we really need to look at our facilities and see what we can do, because I was a little embarrassed because he's from Arcadia and he just sat there like, oh, so you have no power and you don't have a generator that's kicking in. So in any case, we rectified that as soon as we could, but it was a little shocking. I know that, did we have rolling blackouts in the community? Because some sectors of San Marino were not affected.
Oh, I live there. We lost that. I think it was something related to the storm that night. And then there were other parts in the neighborhood that lost it till, like, they lost some of their internet connectivity.
Oh,
Yeah, so I think it was like a regional area. First, like my side of the street, which is the high school side, east of or west of Gainsborough, Bradbury, we had no power for like half an hour, but the other side did. So it's just that one Must have been that one
Go
pocket.
across the street to get some dinner.
I know.
I like the food tray.
Yeah, Mr. Chang had his cell phone out so that we could get our food, so he held up his cell phone for all of us.
By candlelight.
Yes, that is correct. Date night for me. Just to echo our board sentiment regarding our thoughts about safety. Obviously, there is nothing more important to us than the safety of our children, our staff, our families in the community. And with that, I'm just going to hold my thoughts because I know that Dr. Delatorre wants to speak on that. But next up, we have our student board member, Kelly Trin.
So Carver has a new reading program called Achieve 3000, and fifth graders already completed 10,429 article, or 75% above that has been read, and it aids students in their reading growth. And as mentioned, there was a science fair where 64 students participated with a total of 47 projects. And on March 24th, the fourth graders had their 49er day. It's where they got to experience life in like California during the gold rush. So for Valentine on March 17th, the fifth grader had the American Heritage Day, and that's where the fifth graders get to experience what it's like to live in the colonial times. For HMS on March 15th, they had a good citizenship breakfast and the theme was integrity. On March 17th, they had their spring choir along at HMS, and it was a combined concert. And the mindfulness pod was recently installed in the wellness lounge and allows students to cultivate their inner peace and relax. At Seminole High School on March 16th, ASB held their movie night and we played Black Panther on an inflatable movie screen. On March 17th, we had our spring concert choir that was mentioned. On March 15th, senior had their movie night and we played Howl's Moving Castle. And on March 24th, band and orchestra had their spring concert. And for the student voice, I went to HMS to talk with the ASB and asked about what they were doing recently that they really enjoyed. And some stuff such as sports. It is currently boys volleyball season. So I talked to one of the boys volleyball players and he said that he really liked that sports because it was a way to interact with his friends after school, and the coaches are really friendly and encouraging. I talked to a band member and I think the day after I met them, they had a field trip and they really like spending nighttime outside of school, which they called their breaks from the academic period. And in history, one of the students had a Congress debate where students were like split up into like groups. They had to engage with other students as if it was a Congress debate. And a concern that they voiced to me is that the lunch line, it usually gets long because now there's free lunches, and the little lunch line that they used to set up outside is no longer in use. So lunch line gets really long and sometimes students can't make the passing period to go attend their club events in teachers' classroom, but hopefully that'll be fixed with the block schedule next year.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Trin. Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education Executive Team, and Student Board Member Trin. This evening, I would like to begin by simply extending our school district's deepest sympathies to the school community in Nashville, who were recently impacted by a senseless and violent school shooting that resulted in the loss of 6 lives, 3 of whom were children, innocent children. Every time we hear about these things on the news, it really makes us very sad and also very aware of the reality of the conditions in which we are living in every day. We have to protect our children, we have to protect our staff members, and we have to protect our schools. I will say to the Board of Education that this is something that our school district has been keenly aware of and working on for many years. School safety and the focus on school safety has been very intentional for at least the last 8 years of which I am aware. We have continuously been providing threat assessment training to our administrators and our counselors, school psychologists, and individuals who can proactively assess whether or not we have threats in our community. If you look at the majority of school shootings, oftentimes the shooters are in some way connected to the schools. And so it really makes sense that it has to be the entire community that is engaged and partnering with the school district to keep everyone safe. I was in a meeting last Friday with several superintendents, and they had a securities firm who specializes in working with school districts to train their employees on how to be proactive as opposed to being reactive when it comes to school shootings. And he talked a lot about the fact that, you know, when it comes to school violence, many people are focusing on what they can do to react to the shooting, not necessarily what they can do to prevent it. And whenever you're impacted by a school shooting, you're going to lose. It's just whether you're going to lose terribly or moderately. But no matter what, you're going to lose the game because you're going to have some injuries, some loss of life. He talked about the fact that you can do preventative training, which really requires that the training extends beyond just your faculty and staff and students, that the training involve your parents, your community leaders, and everyone in the community. He talked a lot about the fact that you protect what you care about. And caring communities who build a sense of trust and camaraderie and affection for what they appreciate in their communities, their schools, their churches, places where people gather and build a sense of community. If you love those places, you're going to do whatever you can to protect them. And that's so important. If you see something, you know, say something. Chief Incontra says that all the time around town. And that is very, very true. And that is something that, you know, our community, I believe, engages in San Marino. One of the things that we have done this year in particular is really take very seriously the fact that we need to have our campuses be more secure in terms of fencing. So this district, with the board's support, set aside very intentionally monies that we received that were one-time monies to fence the Huntington Middle School campus. And we were talking about this in the fall. And unfortunately, in the current climate that we're in, there are 3 reasons why that fencing project has not been completed. One of the reasons is a staffing shortage, another is a supply shortage, and the third is inclement weather. This year, we have had more rainfall than in any other year here that I can recall in the last 3 decades. And that has impacted contractors' ability to, you know, work on the fencing project. The other thing is it's taken a lot longer to manufacture the fencing panels. And Gil's nodding in the back in affirmation because he knows he's been dealing with this on the front lines. And I have been asking him weekly, what's the update? Where are we with this? And so we do have the posts installed and we are thinking it's going to be another 2 to 3 weeks to get those panels installed. And that is going to complete the front of the campus. We also then have to turn our attention to the back of the campus, and we're going to be working on that as expeditiously as possible, knowing that there are some impediments to our ability to get it done quickly, but we're moving as fast as we possibly can under the circumstances. And then on top of that, you have acts of God. President Ryan was referring to the very large tree that toppled over into the parking lot. And that took out 2 panels, right? Fencing in front of the Barth Athletics complex. that left a pretty big gaping hole there in our fencing. And so today, and I want to thank Dr. Michael Lynn and Gil Cardenas, Director Gil Cardenas, for getting to work to actually put some temporary fencing up in that space. And I'd like to share some photographs with the board. Dr. Troy? Just showing you how we have addressed that situation temporarily. And you can see there in that photograph that we have temporarily put up some chain link fencing.
It was, we are fortunate by many means because the tree didn't go into the building or towards a child that could have been walking around there at about 112. But also when it came down, fortunately, no one was in the two cars that were damaged. And then the one in the middle never got touched. So I don't even know what that was. But thankfully, no one was hurt in our community, school community, or our wider community. And so we're very fortunate that building structure and all that was, you know, is the lampposts and the fence. So
we were incredibly fortunate. Had that happened an hour later, it could have been a tragedy. If it happened during dismissal, the circumstances would have been very, very different. We'd be dealing with an entirely different situation. So we're very, very thankful that it wasn't worse than it was. But we did get that fencing up today. We are going to replace those two panels alongside the rest of the fencing project. So that will get done as well in the next several weeks. Then we're going to move to the back of the campus and start working there. And so we will be able to get the Huntington Middle School project done definitely by the end of this school year and completed. We're also looking at installing some electrical so that we can have gates that are very similar to the ones that we have installed at both Carver and Valentine elementary schools, where visitors to the campus need to be buzzed in. And there will be cameras there where the front office staff can see who's coming, who's approaching the front of the building. And they will need to be identified in order to come on campus. This year as well, as the board is aware, we have been using the Raptor system, which is going to be working much better and quicker than it has before because of internet connectivity. And so we worked through some of those issues. So we have systems and practices in place that have made our campuses more safe than they have been in the past. And we're going to continue to work on those issues, which are very important to us. There are also 3 gates that are going to be installed, I believe, over spring break, Dr. Lynn, at the high school.
That's being put up, right?
Yes. Okay, so we are making improvements there as well. And I believe that those gates are very close to the art room. Yes, and the near auditorium, right?
Yes.
And then the other side of the campus where the robotics room is.
One of the robotics in the room in between the 3 and 4.
Yes. Yeah, so we are doing that as quickly as we can. Again, in order for us to really make all of the physical security improvements that need to be made, we're going to have to ask the board to consider in the future some kind of a bond measure to be able to afford some of the security improvements that are much needed in our school system, in our school district, that other districts have been able to do when they pass their bonds. And so that is something that we're going to be bringing back to you in the future, and that we're also going to be talking with the Facilities Advisory Committee about extensively. But I did want to make the board aware that this is a top priority for us and that we continue to make security and safety our top priority. We are keenly aware of the fact that our parents are trusting us with the lives of their most precious assets, their children. And there is nothing more important to us than making sure that we are doing just that. We have had on contract a Harvard-trained forensic psychologist who's worked with us on our threat assessment process. We are continuously working to look at internal and external threats to our safety and security. This is ongoing, and Dr. Lynn has taken that over and is now meeting with the teams, and that includes local law enforcement who works very, very closely with us. in that endeavor. We also are going to be looking at this additional proactive approach to training. And we are going to talk with our principals about increasing the frequency of both scheduled and unscheduled lockdowns and lockouts. And we're going to make sure that every single employee in the school district understands the difference between a lockdown and a lockout, and that every single employee, whether they're a permanent employee or a substitute, they're just here for a day or a project, that they understand what to do in the event of an emergency. And this is something that is very important to us. We know it's very important to the community, and we're going to make it a top priority. And we're going to continue to report back to the Board of Education on the measures that are being taken in that endeavor. So was that the only picture, or were there other pictures as well?
There were 3 pictures.
Okay.
Shared. Yeah.
Okay, but were they of the same fence?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll get that taken care of as soon as we can. And if the board has any questions on that, I would love to answer them now.
Maybe you could comment on, I know Valentine had a lock out that transitioned into a lockdown.
Yes.
And they had PE, a full PE class of 3rd graders outside, and maybe you could share how that went. Some feedback from Whitney.
Yeah, so there was an incident in the community on, I would say, the east side of town that we heard about, which was a robbery at the ATM in front of the Chase Bank building. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about how they just did the drill last Friday.
Oh, okay. Last Friday. Okay, so
I think so. She touched on it at the PTA meeting.
okay.
But it sounded like it was addressed some of the issues from the incident that you're talking about.
Yes,
The parents have
okay.
been
Fine.
bringing up, and just wanted to confirm that, we aren't sweeping that under the rug or forgetting
No,
about it.
no, no, no.
It's actively being
Sure.
addressed.
And one of the things that I'd like to say is that we have drills, and we lock down or lock out sometimes out of an abundance of caution. Not because we're being asked to by law enforcement, but because we want to just make sure that it gives us an opportunity to practice our drills. And there, we are now keenly aware that not everyone understood the difference between lockout and lockdown. A lockout is when you secure the perimeter of the school. A lockdown is when you secure the perimeter of the school, but you also lock down wherever you are. It's like a shelter in place where you have to get down and hide. You have to get the kids out of sight of any potential threat to their safety. And so when you lock down, instruction stops, right? Because you're hiding essentially from any potential threat. When you lock out, you continue to teach, you do whatever you're doing in your classroom. You're just locking the classroom door and the perimeter of the school. But instruction continues as normal. And so we have made sure that every employee in the district understands the difference between the two. We also have an emergency management system called Catapult that we are using. And every employee has access to Catapult. We have put in place training that we're going to provide to all new employees and substitute teachers on our EMS, our emergency management system, so that they know that if they get either a text message or an email, that they need to pay attention to that and respond to it right away and act accordingly. If we have a lockdown or lockout, that is going to come to you via text message. Your phone will ring. It'll either call you, email you, text you, or all 3. In my case, I get all 3. So my phone rings, I get a text message, and I later look for the email because I'm not always checking my emails. If you are out on the campus for some reason, it's recess, and you have noon duty supervisors out there watching the kids, those individuals will need to make sure that they are trained, right, to do what it takes to get kids, in a safe place, which isn't always possible, and everything is situational now, right? We don't always have time to corral the kids and get them into a safe space. So then we turn our attention to run, hide, fight, right? And run, hide, fight is the model that the FBI uses in active shooter situations. And so we have Alice training at the elementary schools that has been very effective, and it's more age appropriate with kids that we're using. All of our PE teachers and those people who are outside of a classroom with kids, they have radios, they have their cell phone. And we also are making sure that our PA announcements that will happen in the event of any of these drills or emergency situations are able to be heard from anywhere on the campus. And so we were working with maintenance and operations director Gil Cardenas again on the Valentine campus to ensure that we have speakers in areas of the campus where previously they weren't able to hear the PA announcements. So we have remedied all of those situations that became evident to us during one of those situations. So it's running a lot smoother than ever before, and we're going to continuously look for areas to improve in and strengthen our procedures going forward. And we're also going to provide more training to our teachers about situational awareness, which is very, very important. Any other questions, comments, or yes?
I'm wondering, so along the lines of the community, as you were saying, really addressing the issue collectively, have we thought about, or what are we thinking about in terms of working with the parents so they understand the protocols, that if there's an emergency, they shouldn't be calling the police. They shouldn't be running to the schools right away. They shouldn't even to some extent be calling their children, because if their children are sheltering in place, they need to be quiet. So my question is, what are we doing in terms of the parent community? And then the other side of that would be our community at large.
Yes.
I know that the police department has been doing a lot of education around the community with getting Nixle alerts and things like that. But when there's an incident at the school, or when there's an incident in the community, are we really looking at ways to really connect each other so that everyone is on the same page? I mean, we're so tiny.
Yes. And I think that one of the first things that we're going to be discussing this Friday with all of our principals, we have a meeting, is a possible parent safety night where we invite parents district-wide to come together and talk with us and a panel of experts about safety and security in today's day and age in San Marino, and how we really need all hands on deck, which means everybody needs to know how to handle each situation as it arises. What are the do's and what are the don'ts? What can we do? Where do we need to improve? And then the overarching theme of that needs to be that this community rallies around its school district and its children, and that we protect what we love, right? And we need to really make sure that our community comes together before the tragedy, because that's what helps to prevent it. And again, most of the active shooters have some connection to the community. They live in the community, they went to school there, they had a bad situation, or maybe they felt disconnected in some way. And so we have psychologists, counselors, teachers. We have individuals who live in San Marino. Everybody knows everyone else for the most part, right? That isn't always true, but there's lots of eyes on every situation here. And we have to work together to wrap services around people who need that help and support. We need to have a sense of connectedness and the sense of belonging, a sense of community. And if we have those things, we will be better insulated from these tragedies than those communities who don't value that. And I believe that San Marino does value that. And so we need to bring those old-fashioned community values back to the forefront. And so we'll be talking about that with the principals on Friday, and more information to come. I know that what I want to do in the future is to have a parent night, which is focused on orientation, which will always have that safety component at the very beginning of the school year, and that will be for all parents. We're just trying to figure out if we should have something before the school year ends right now to really educate our parents, because this could happen at any time, and we haven't done it district wide. And I think that that's really, really important to be able to connect with our parents. So we will be communicating with our principals to get their input on this, and then something will come back to the board in the way of what our plans are for that. But definitely, no matter what, we're going to have a parent night orientation at the beginning of next school year. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get something on calendar before the end of this year as well.
So Mrs. Gill, Mrs. Chong, any more questions, or was it asked and answered in terms of?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just always to kind of remember that as we're out in the community and we're listening to parents, there's a balance, right? We want our kids safe, but a lot of community members have come up to me and said, you know, I don't want our schools looking like prisons. And you guys threw up a whole bunch of fences and look what it looks like from my house, right? Like that. So we have a beautiful community. We want to take slow, measured steps in what we're doing, and we want to be intentional how we spend the money and layering those safety initiatives that are going to give us the value that it needs, right? So if we're spending $40,000, what's the value of that if, say, for instance, next year the cameras don't work or we don't have something in place? So it's always looking at, is it sustainable beyond this year? How about next year and the year after that? And so as we're looking at things such as points of entry, right? Points of entry, how many do we have? And with each point of entry, who's monitoring those cameras? I mean, it's really important because not everybody understands, although everyone does have opinions about what is safe, we still need to look at that. It's not a simple fix as get me an SRO and then that's it, you know, give him or her a gun and then we're safe. No, that isn't how it works. So as we're out in the community, I want to remind everyone to kind of be mindful of how we're just listening and bringing the information back to Dr. Delatorre, who is in charge of initiating the leadership behind all of this, because pieces have to fit together. It's not just a one-stop gap fix and then we're done. So with that, I just want to kind of remind everybody about that, and that we don't do your job. Your job is to really take that hard look at it and then to give us your opinions, your professional opinions about it, because safety is important to all of us. And it is very important to all of you guys. Dr. Troy's children are here. You guys work here. We live here. Our children go to school here. Nothing can be more important, but we want to be measured and intentional. We do not want to just go and just spend a whole bunch of money and then next year we can't sustain it, right? So when we're hiring employees, we have to have a plan. Okay, so I'd like a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. I'm always about the data also. I want the data before we spend any money. So, you know, I don't mean, you know, with the fence or the immediate need right now, but in a big picture. Yeah. Okay. Mrs. Lam, Mr. Chang, did you want to add anything?
Yeah.
I should have said that.
If you recall the community history, it doesn't mean that we don't have a shooting. We did have a shooting, but not happening in the campus, but happening in the student party.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one the issue we need to think about. You know, even not in the campus, but in we have in this community we have a community event party. We need to think about we need to want to screen the attendant. Yeah. So I'm just leave this topic. Everyone can think about and see what we need to do. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Next 12 action items. This is for approval of the district sunshine proposal. Did we already cover this earlier? Okay.
Oh, no, you have to do it again.
Oh, I have
Yeah.
to now do it. Okay. Okay. All right, next approval of district sunshine proposal for contract negotiations between SMTA. It is recommended that the board approve the 2023-24 district sunshine proposal for contract negotiations between the San Marino Unified School District and the San Marino Teachers Association. Dr. Jason Rose.
Well, President Ryan, I think you just read everything I was.
Okay. Oh, you were supposed to do it?
Supposed to read that, so you're.
All right.
Took care of it for me.
Sorry. All right, I want to protect your job, so okay, my apologies. All right. Action item, so I need a motion.
I move to approve for the approval of a district sunshine proposal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chang.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Any further discussion? All
I
right,
just think, real quick, to clarify, maybe for everybody to understand what a sunshine proposal is.
Okay.
Just, telling what the topics are that you're going to be negotiating on, right? Isn't that what it is?
Correct. The sunshine process is when both bargaining units share out, put for public, viewing what they're going to be discussing. So in this case, the, SMTA has, sunshined, transfers. That's their article that they're looking at. We always talk about salary, benefits, calendar, and then the district also is opening up the article for workday and for evaluation procedures. So those are the topics that we will be discussing.
thank you, Dr. Rose. Okay, you saved his job. All right.
Thank you. Apparently I need a lot of help.
All right, if there are no other comments or questions, roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. John,
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member. Thank you. Motion passes for our action item. Board superintendent discussion items.
I just wanted to make one mention in the consent agenda. We approved donations report. And I wanted to point out that the donation was $232,385. A significant amount of that was from the Valentine Carver PTA for $187,000, 10,000 from the Foundation for their Wellness Center, and everything coming in from parents and corporate matching donations and field trips and allocations. The support of this community is amazing. 232,000 for one report. That's twice as much as what school districts will get for an entire year of donation. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who not only donated, but took part in making that happen.
I echo that. Thank you for bringing that up. That is really incredible. And when I sit in a room full of other superintendents and we talk about how we are funded, and I share with them that 30% of our funds comes from local resources such as parcel taxes and schools foundation and PTA donations and contributions, they are stunned at the level of donation and volunteerism that takes place in this community. It really is something to be treasured and valued and appreciated. So we're very grateful to our community. Thank you for bringing that up.
Did you have any other discussion item?
Just to say thank you to the Board of Education for all of your hard work and the number of hours that you devote to your roles as board members. It's not always a job where you get, high fives and pats on the back. But thank you for doing the work. I also wanted to share with the board, thank you, Lynette, that we are going to be making a concerted effort to connect with our senior population in the community. We have put together some ads that are going to go into the newspaper. And so this is one of the ads, and we're going to highlight the fact that we have a legacy permit for grandparents to be able to enroll their grandchildren in our schools on permit. We believe that if we re-engage our grandparents and we have something to offer them and their families, that they may be more apt to engage with us on an ongoing basis. And this is, and I'll pass that around. You can look at that. This is just a draft, by the way, we're still perfecting it. And this is the flyer that we're going to use as a mailer. So we're going to send that out to everyone in the community, targeting, of course, those individuals who live in our community that are age 55 and above. So we're super excited about that effort. Another thing that we would like to do is to work on a program where we're going to be reaching out to our seniors and inviting them to attend perhaps 2 different events that we have, a showcase event, a football game, a musical, a drama production, a concert, choir performance, something where they can have a night out and really enjoy themselves in their very own community, to hopefully engage them and get them connected to what we do in our school district. But some of the talent that we see on stage amongst our students is just phenomenal. And, I'm super excited about the dance production this year. And, you saw the dancers here tonight, they are just amazing and so talented. And so I think our seniors would really, really enjoy that. And it would help them to feel like they're more engaged with the school district for lots of reasons.
So do you think it's too late to notify them?
No.
I think then Sarah and Frozen, I think.
Yeah, they would like that.
This is
Yeah.
a tool
Mhm.
which you.
I will
Because
turn
even
to-
Chicago was not sold out. We had so many seats available. I think we should make that
Yeah.
up for our community to attend.
I will bring that up with high school administration and see what we can do to get information out to them. I do need to figure out who the seniors are in the community. We haven't done that work yet. I think I'm going to be working with someone on that soon to get a list
Parks
of.
and Rec seems to be dialed into the senior population.
Mhm, mhm.
Their program, all their programs.
Is it possible for us to include in the Tribune, like a little calendar of events that might be open to the
Yeah.
public, like our
Mhm.
performances and whatnot, and,
Mhm.
free for a certain age or sort of residents or something like that, and they can come, and if they have a calendar.
Yeah, let me talk to the high school administration about that and see what works for them. And then we will definitely move forward in that direction. But we want to embark on a campaign to sort of reconnect with them.
May I ask a question about the legacy permit? Sorry if this is off topic, but why is there a requirement for 10 years? I mean, if you move in, you're immediately paying the property taxes.
So that was just the policy that was adopted by the board that was in charge at that time. But that's our policy. So if this board wanted to change that, that would be possible. But I think there was a feeling that they wanted to extend that to people who were dedicated to the district, established in the district, because they're calling it a legacy permit. And if you come here for 1 or 2 years and then you leave, I don't know, it's not the same, I guess, under the definition of legacy. And we also modeled our policy after Beverly Hills. And I think Beverly Hills had that language in their policy.
Okay.
So you guys can think about that. Board policy is under your purview, so.
I think the time we approve this, said at least 10 years, because if they haven't lived too long, I think they probably still have some their own issue. Sooner or later they move out. So we want, when we have this policy, and then we have a less headache, because we also don't want the people, take some advantage. So, and then some people paying the tax, most of they are the long-term resident. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's the time. Yeah, we come out how long they are to be in the community. Yeah.
Okay, so anything else? Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
Nothing else. I'd like to adjourn the meeting.